So, hello and welcome to another Coffee and Corona with Caroline. Are you coffee or Corona today? You look very
I
coffee-like.
I am coffee today. I have coffee in a homemade mug.
I love that mug. That's a great mug.
Oh, thank you.
Where can we get your mugs somewhere?
Maybe I would have to. I have to make more of them. Right now, they're each a one of a kind item that kind of are sort of hosted in my in my kitchen. But I
Is
take orders, so
that looks kind of like your India ink style?
it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
a fun, sort of a fun glaze. It's called what's this called? I think it's called cherry blossom. That
Oh,
kind of
nice.
does that sort of look. And then I've got kind of a yellow glaze inside.
Well, it definitely looks
And the
like
clay
cherry
body
blossoms.
itself, the clay body itself is like a kind of a reddish color.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you can get Caroline's paintings at Hope Spring Studio, by the way. She does
Thanks.
a very cool style now that she's doing India ink that looks pretty distinctive and fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be
And
Corona today. I've got my margarita halfway finished already. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this podcast.
I'll wake you up if yeah, if you sort of nod off.
Well, it's a virgin margarita, so it won't make me tired. Boring.
You're telling our listening audience this is coffee and Corona, and you're telling us that you're drinking a virgin margarita.
Well, it's not even Corona, so I'm already cheating. Figure I can cheat my way the rest of honestly. But
Fair enough.
it's homemade and it's very tasty.
I
Uh,
like an honest cheater. So, what is our topic du jour today?
well, our beatitude from my other book is in the other room, and this usually doesn't work, but the book is Are You Happy Now? And our beatitude is being grateful. And you actually requested this attitude.
I did. I did. Do you know why?
I do not. I would love to know why.
I requested this because of a conversation that we had recently um, with our happiness hangout that you can tell everybody about. Um, that we were talking about ways of kind of getting out of your own way. So I think I was talking about how I'm can be really hard on myself, and you had some good advice for that. And there was another person in our group that talked about expressing gratitude, and really trying, understanding and reminding ourselves of things that we're grateful for. And every once in a while I forget about that, and it was just such a great reminder yesterday when we were talking about that. And so I thought it would just be a lot of fun um, to have another reminder about it, and to remind all of our friends that watch this that to to be thinking about gratitude, and also for us to let them know how grateful we are to them, for them.
That sounds like really good advice.
Yeah.
Um, Gratitude is one of those. So, yeah, you're talking about a gratitude journal. Uh, Sorry if I'm sharing your information, but you shared how
No, not at all. Nope, that's good.
some of the things that you wrote down that you're grateful for were this, you would write down some of the same things each day. And I think it's good to do that and to shake things up the way you were doing, because it can be hard to remember, you know what, like these people or these situations are always in our face. They're always in our lives. We can take them for granted, or we can start to think negatively and complain about them. And so it's good to remember these good things in our lives, um, just because the one like once they're gone, then all we'll have is regret. It's like, oh man, all I did was like take it for granted, ignore it, or complain about it. And as I look back, it was actually a pretty good thing in my life. Like, wow, perspective.
Yeah. Have you ever, what you were saying just reminded me of something that happens kind of that, well, it used to happen when I would travel back in the days when people went places. Um, have you ever gone on a trip and you're someplace and you're going to be there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and you first get there and you think like, oh, I should take a picture of this, or I should go to that place. And then you think, no, I'm going to be here for a couple of weeks. I'll make sure that I'll make sure that I'll get back to it. And then all of a sudden, it's like the last day of your trip or your last day in this particular town or wherever. And you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get photos of, of this or that. I didn't go into this place that I walked by every day. And I think that's part of the gratitude journey, which is recognizing, like you were saying, what do you have right now, and how do you enjoy it right now?
Well, I think that brings up a good element of gratitude, because when you start practicing gratitude, one of the major things you're actually practicing is awareness and being present in the moment. Like practicing gratitude snaps you right into the present moment. And that's where life is happening, where lots of people tend to live life up in their head. They're thinking about things or obsessing about stuff. They're not actually experiencing life. They are thinking about it and creating whatever experience they can manage to create up in their head. And usually we think about the worst, we expect from the worst, we plan for the worst, but if we can get out of our head and into the real world where things are happening, we've realized most of this isn't even real. This is just this dialogue or story that we're drumming up. And so a lot of happiness, I'll speak for myself, that my happiness has all stemmed from practicing awareness and just paying attention to what is without judgment, without expectation, and without assumptions, you know. And that's a major part of gratitude that I don't think I've really thought of until I started practicing it.
Can you help me just understand a little bit more how gratitude and awareness are connected?
Sure. um, I'll use an experience from one of the first times I traveled. I studied abroad in London, and we were studying art, music, and theater. It was fantastic. It was kind of a one-time thing experiment that they did, and I was really, really fortunate to be part of it. And our first art class, the art teacher did it. Now I know it's kind of a typical thing that they do, but back then it blew my mind, all of our minds really. And he asked us, what color is the front door to the building we're in right now? You all walked through it. What's the color? And not a single one of us could name the color of the door. None of us even guessed it right. And so we were all like, oh, we never realized just how little we actually pay attention to. And so, for instance, when I'm just thinking of anything, like I'm desperate of something to say that I'm grateful for, I'll think of things like electricity that works. We
Mhm.
don't usually pay attention to that. We just expect it to work. But once I started practicing gratitude for electricity, running water, sewage, uh, refrigerator that's got cold stuff in it that can preserve my food, air to breathe. Sometimes I'm so desperate for something to be grateful for, I'll just be grateful for the air that I'm breathing. And the only way I can do that is by bringing attention to it, by practicing
Mhm.
awareness of it.
Yeah.
Like right now, I have a ceiling fan going that's keeping me cool. I almost
Hmm.
never think of it. But if I started being like grateful for things, all of a sudden I would be aware of this thing that's always there in the background.
Hmm.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you've helped me understand more about that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. That you, in order to be grateful for something, or how do I phrase this? In order to be knowingly grateful. So if you can acknowledge that you're grateful for it, you have to be aware of it. I think there are things that we're grateful for that we don't, that we're just sort of unconsciously, grateful for it. Like the fan. I mean, you're probably grateful for the breeze without even sort of realizing it, because if the fan wasn't turned on, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's kind of it's sort of hot in here, right?
I would say yes, but because that's me and I try to engender the attitudes of, gratitude, kindness, compassion, those kind of attitudes. But I'll say that I've met tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of people that I don't think are naturally grateful or kind or compassionate or whatever, that if the fan wasn't there, rather than being grateful for it, having been there, they would be mad that it's not there now, or that it stops working, or you know
Yeah, well, I think we've
like
all been
entitled.
there too.
Was
Have
that?
you ever stayed at a place that has solar, like an eco lodge, where everything is like on solar power, and then at night it all shuts down or whatever? You haven't stayed at a place like that?
No. Sounds interesting.
Well, yes, it's great when as long as they have the power on, but often they're in tropical locations, and so as soon as they shut the power, all the fans go off, and you just sort of settle in, and it doesn't take long for the cool air to dissipate and be replaced by very hot, sticky air. And yes, there
Zeus.
is a there is a feeling of, wow, I was really I was really enjoying that fan, and geez, I'm so pissed off that I have to sleep here now for the next 7 hours without one.
I do understand that pain. It can be hard to sleep when the conditions aren't ideal.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I do express a lot of gratitude for that silly little fan. I mean, look how much we've talked about ceiling fans already. And that's one thing that I think we miss out on without gratitude, is that these little things that make our life, if not just bearable, like pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I completely agree. Like, I think maybe we've talked about this before, but lying down in like a bed that's freshly made, like clean sheets. You've had a long day. You just want to, you just want to go lie down, and there you've got your bed ready for you, and it's just like these nice, cool, clean sheets, and it's just like, this is awesome. So yeah, there are a lot of simple things to be grateful for.
I'm sharing my screen just a little bit while we chat, because you had requested some talking points.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think okay, so gratitude was kind of a fad, right? And a lot of people jumped onto this gratitude bandwagon, and I am very resistant to, popularity bandwagons. So I never did it.
You rejected the gratitude bandwagon?
Yeah, the gratitude journal,
Oh, really?
bandwagon. Yeah. I've practiced gratitude um, just as a general sense, of being. I'll write things down from time to time. I'll go through lists in my head on a regular basis, especially if I'm feeling down. But I try to do it also when I'm not feeling down. I'm curious your thoughts about practicing gratitude when we're down versus when we're feeling okay.
Um, well, it's that's an interesting question. I might need to think about that for a minute. Because I know that often, well, so I would say that I am moved to be thinking about gratitude and the things I am grateful for mostly two different times. One is when I am feeling down and I think, okay, let's see how we can turn this around. Being grateful is a way is helpful in turning things around. So I do practice it then. And then the other time is three times I will say. The second time is when just my heart is just swelling with happiness that something really good has happened, and I'm just so thankful for whatever the forces were that helped bring that together, whether it was friends or nature or happenstance, whatever it was that I can be grateful for these things that happened to create whatever this happy moment was. And then I would say the third time is when I feel like someone else is hurting. So um, if I have a friend or a family member who I sense is down or has got some things going on, I will reach out to them and let them know that I am grateful, that I'm thinking about them, and that I'm so grateful that they're in my life, and that I hope in hopes that will help them feel better.
It's really nice. So all three of your examples, it's interesting, all three of your examples are tied to emotions. So feeling down, so some down emotions, uh, overjoyed type of emotions, also. And then, so just to draw attention to those two, it sounds like the gratitude happens naturally when you're overjoyed. And then when you're feeling down and need a pick me up, you reach to gratitude as a tool for lifting yourself up and raising your mood a bit.
Yeah.
And then the third would be empathy, compassion, and a desire to share your joy through gratitude. Those are all very interesting to me. How tied to emotion gratitude actually is.
Yeah. How about you? How does gratitude come out for you?
I would say those are very similar. I have the same types of relationship to gratitude. I also try to just be grateful because I think it's it's a happiness muscle, and the more we practice it, the stronger we are at it. And so, like one of these talking points of gratitude is happiness. And one of the first talking point too also says gratitude means embracing life. And so when you were talking, one of the emotions that I feel, to answer your question more directly, is love. And so I think when I express gratitude, I'm really practicing an element of unconditional love for that thing or person or event or situation. And I'm sorry, I'm going through all the talking points right now, but it also brings me to the last one where it says be grateful for everything, because one of the cool things about gratitude is that it can apply to so many different parts of our life. Being grateful for some of the tough things in our life can help us to reconcile those things or do some healing from maybe some hurt or damage that's been done in our life. And gratitude can be very healing that way. And I think it's an act of love to express that gratitude. It's kind of a love of life that we're trying to practice and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So
The what was I going to say? Something that you something that you reminded me of. Similar to the idea about what is this moment, even though it's hard. What can I take away from it? So, I think that a lot of people right now with, with COVID and so forth. You know, what can we learn from these moments, and how can we be grateful for, for what's going on right now, that and I think we had a good conversation about that in the happiness hangout yesterday with there was a few folks in there that were saying, like, yeah, I actually, during the early days of COVID, when, we weren't really sure what was going on and nobody could work, and all we had to do was, the only thing we could do was sort of get back to reading books and doing yoga, and, find, that we actually had this abundance of time, that now we're seeing that was actually just this amazing gift, that we, there was a person in the hangout yesterday who was like, oh my gosh, I really miss those early days of COVID. And who would have thought we would have said that, but I was right there with her.
You were, okay. Are there other things? I mean, you bring up an interesting exercise we could do of expressing some things we were grateful for about COVID, because I mean, it seemed like this big cataclysmic event for the planet that really rocked our world.
Yeah.
And I mean, are there some other things that you were grateful for? Because
yes, and and again, it does take a little bit of creative, thinking, but everybody complains and has jokes about online meetings, because they can be exhausting, and it's not the same as human contact. But oh my goodness, I am so grateful that we have this technology and this ability to do this, because my work life would have ground to a screeching halt. We wouldn't be able to do nearly the level of communication that we've done over the last 6 months. I mean, I think you and I have seen each other, in person maybe 3 times since March, whereas we get to see each other every week, because we have this technology as an opportunity. So I'm very grateful about that. I'm so grateful about being able to have a safe home where I can work, and and just be, that I have a working computer and a comfortable place where I can get my stuff done.
yeah, those are both really, really great things.
Yeah.
And I bet your gratitude for those were huge once everything happened.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How about you? What do you have you had some gratitudinal moments?
Yeah, the first two that came to mind were very similar to what you expressed, and I'll say it in a different way. Of it's wonderful that we have the technology, um, because in the happiness hangouts we usually talked about how people misuse or abuse technology to tear each other down and judge each other and just kind of just hate speech to each other. I was super grateful to see people reaching out with, love or kindness or patience, trying to have real conversations rather than just like slamming each other and running or blocking each other if they didn't like what anyone had to say. It was like
Mhm.
people actually started reaching out and trying to have real communication. I was super grateful for that. And yeah, things changed for me so that I was able to work from home, and I was very, very, very grateful for that. And I was, you know, it was interesting watching the whole thing roll out, because you're kind of just watching how people are reacting to these new circumstances. And I was really grateful for people who started wearing masks, but doing it conscientiously, not out of fear, but out of an attitude of, I care for your health as well.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to get mad about wearing a mask because I actually want to protect your health and mine. And it was this level of caring that seemed to go up a couple of notches. And yeah, those are the big things that I was really grateful for. Oh,
Yeah.
I was really grateful for people getting out into nature. Everybody was going for walks and hikes and posting these pictures. And I
Hmm.
really would love to see people get back to all of that, because the funny thing is how many people was like, oh, it just makes me feel so much better being out in nature. And I'm like, yeah, go do that more often.
Yes, and that you know, and the more time you spend outside, the more time you want to spend outside, and also the more you want to cherish what you have. So you know, you're more likely to be an advocate for good stewardship of our, you know, of our natural places. And so, yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, there's no segue for this. I'm just kind of curious if it's okay if I bring something up.
Okay.
Because you asked about talking about gratitude, and I always start thinking, okay, well, what would we talk about, or what's something that we could pull to the conversation, and um, well, maybe it's not necessarily a segue. I do think it's related, because I was watching this show, Community. It's a comedy. I love it. It's, yeah, I
I've
love
been watching it too. You and I
it. You
have, we've
haven't?
got similar TV patterns. Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
have been binge watching Community.
Okay. Okay. So the main character is Jeff Winger, right? And everybody kind of looks to him to bring the group together. They tend to end up in these arguments, and then he's the one who uses his lawyering skills to resolve it all.
Uh-huh.
And so he gets into this space where he's trying to do something nice for one of the members of the group, and the whole situation goes sour. And he makes this statement that I thought was really interesting, because the last few years I've had so many experiences with people that are so bizarrely dysfunctional, like mentally ill level of dysfunctional, that it could have taken me to a very jaded place. And that's what this character Jeff was expressing. I'm going to quote him right now. He says, "The world is a sick place full of sick, sick people." And normally I would think that's a very jaded perspective,
Uh-huh.
right? And I found myself having enough experiences that taught me that is a very real truth that's out there. And I'm still very Pollyanna and frank, believing in the best in people. But we've seen a lot of things, the way the world has just taken so many downturns in so many ways. And I just kind of wonder if other people are really diving into that same type of mentality of the world is a sick place full of sick, sick people. And all those people is us. That's each other. We're the people. And so, how do we fix that? And I was kind of thinking, well, how does gratitude tie into this? And sorry if I'm going way off, just way,
No,
way off.
I'm intrigued now. So
Okay.
yes, so how does gratitude?
Okay. So I looked into his quote a little bit, and the label that was put on his quote online, the website was TV Tropes that I ended up on for this. It was labeled a crapsack world. And his attitude is crapsack world, right? I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay, well, what's a crapsack world?
Hmm.
I'm learning all sorts of new ideas and terms here. So the definition is kind of long, so bear with me, but it says a crapsack world is a horrible setting where the jaded notion of anything that can go wrong will go horribly, horribly wrong almost always applies, and it corrupts its inhabitants into perpetuating that nastiness against each other. And then the last phrase is more succinctly, trying to survive in one of these places is gonna suck. And I just wonder if a lot of our society is plunging into this attitude of what we have to go through right now is gonna suck. I have felt that many times myself. And I haven't gotten too bummed out about it myself, because I'm actually very hopeful and proactive. but I know that a lot of people are getting bummed out because they have that hopeless feeling of what's going on sucks and it's going to get worse. It's going to be a crap sack world. And so I was just sitting with, okay, you know what? How does gratitude tie into this? And part of it has to do with some of these talking points, like gratitude
Focusing
for our
on the
struggles.
positive. Yep.
Yeah, helps us. Yeah, gratitude for our struggles helps us make the most of them. Being grateful for everything helps us focus on the positive. Because I think one of the things about life is that it can feel disempowering. It can feel like it's tearing us down, keeping us down, and that's a crapsack world. And
Hmm.
I refuse to accept that as my reality. I know that it's a reality of our world, but I just refuse to accept that as my reality. And gratitude is one of the most powerful tools that we can use to fight that attitude. And
Hmm.
rather than fight, I actually mean to heal that type of an attitude. Because if we feel hopeless, we're going to feel desperate. We're going to do desperate things and make it worse. But if we can exercise gratitude, that can actually help empower us to feel like, things are this way, but I can still do something about it. I can
Right.
still operate with kindness. I can still smile
Hmm.
at my neighbors. I can open the door for that person.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I
yeah.
think one of the things, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no,
Please.
no, no.
Uh, the one of the words in here that I like from your talking points is the word heal. And that gratitude heals. And I think, when I think about things that the times in my life that where it's just like, okay, I have to go through this and it's going to suck. It's usually involved healing of some kind. That something has happened to me, either physically or emotionally, that there was nothing I could do other than take time to heal, and it will get better. And gratitude is the paver of that road, that it allows you to go down the healing path.
So, at what point of that path do you start exercising gratitude, would you say?
um, I think as soon as you decide that it's it's going to suck, but that you have to get through it. I mean, you can either, like, whatever it is. So if it's let's say, like a couple of years ago, I had a shoulder injury, and there was no two ways about it. There wasn't anything fun about about healing from that shoulder injury. Everything hurt. Sleeping hurt. Physical therapy hurt. It just, it, but it, so the gratitude kicked in when I was like, okay, I am going to get through this. I'm going to get, I'm so thankful that I have, the ability to heal my body and take advantage of what I need to do to get my shoulder back to where it needs to be. And so, it sucked, it hurt, it was all of those things, but it got better. And had I not been willing to see the future and be grateful for what I know I was going to get back and what I had, I might have been stuck with, like, oh, well, it's just going to hurt. Haven't you ever met people like, well, yeah, I've got this pain. It just hurts and it's just going to hurt for the rest of my life. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
I didn't want to be one of those people.
I'm glad you weren't. And you're really not by nature. And you bring up a really good distinction because there's a difference between, uh, you were grateful for the ability to heal and probably, healthcare or something to help you, different resources to help you heal. And I think a lot of people get into some of these positive attitudes of thinking, well, I don't want to have to be grateful for my shoulder getting hurt. It's like, well, you don't have to be glad that your shoulder got hurt. But you can be grateful for things that came from it. You can be grateful for things to help you overcome it. And I think maybe that's one reason people avoid some positive attitudes, because like, well, I'm not happy I hurt my shoulder. That's stupid.
Right. But one thing I'm so happy for and so grateful for
Huh.
was I met this awesome, awesome personal trainer who just was this greatest guy who helped me get so much stronger. And I just enjoyed, every time I would go to like a session of his, I would, we would have great conversations, and, I would exercise and I would get stronger and my shoulder would get better. And I wouldn't have been able to have those experiences had I not had this shoulder problem.
You raise another good point, that there are lots of really great people out there. And I think we're not used to engaging people in positive ways. And so we forget that there's lots of good people like that out there. And I think gratitude helps remind us that it's like, you know what? I'm just bringing in that even though some parts of the world is a sick place full of sick
I wasn't full of sick people.
there's my experience is, and I've got a lot of experience meeting lots of strangers, and I mean lots. And my experience is that more people in this world are really good people who just want to live a good life. And if we are grateful for those people, I bet we're more likely to meet them. We're more likely to open our minds and start conversations with them and have positive conversations with each other. Maybe remind each other that there's good people in the world. I mean, I bet your gratitude helped you engage with him in more positive, your personal trainer in more positive ways, even.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, and I know that he felt my gratitude. I'm 100% sure that he really knew that I was so appreciative of, of the time that, that he was spending helping me to feel better.
And that made him feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the being paid, I think probably helps. But you know what? It's a win-win. He was also grateful. He was grateful to have a client, and who wouldn't want to have me for a client, for crying out loud?
Only a sick person wouldn't want to.
So before we go, I don't know if we're winding down or not, but
Sure,
before we
yeah.
go, I just want to make sure that I express my gratitude for you, because it's been a little over a year since I met you, and you have just really done so many things to make my life richer. So I'm just so grateful for you, PJ.
Yeah. Well, likewise, you've helped me in many, many, many ways, and one of them, maybe not the least of which, is letting me know that all the effort that I put into some of these happiness things is not wasted time. It's actually had benefits for people that, put it to good use. And I'm really grateful that you've joined me for the adventure of the coffee and Coronas. This has been so fun. And yeah, you've also
Yep.
helped me in enormous ways.
Awesome. Well, good. Well,
So thank you.
you're welcome. So my cup is empty. Look, I can kind of, there's part of it where, let's see, how did I do that? It was like,
Just a little bit of sludge in the bottom.
I know, but for a minute there, it was like it was see-through. There we go.
There it is. We just got more coffee. The bottomless coffee.
So do you think we've talked about being grateful to?
I think we've had a fantastic discussion. Yeah. And I think we ended it probably on the best part that we could of being grateful for each other as humans, and give people the benefit of the doubt, and just remember there are lots of good people out there struggling, and if we can maybe help each other through it. And I loved your example of extending your gratitude to people to help them feel better. Fantastic. And I think that's a great way to leave this. So
Thank you. Well, thank you, PJ. We'll see you again very soon.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Coffee and Corona. Check out hopespringstudios.com. The link is going to be in the comments, and thehappierzone.com, where you can come hang out and be happier. And we'll
Awesome.
hopefully see you all again soon. Thanks,
All
Caroline.
right. Thank you, PJ.